What is up, my fellow nerds? Welcome to Tales of Nerdia. Today we're talking about Chapter 362 of Hunter x Hunter. But before we get into that, I want to clear up something about Chapter 361, and that is in the Viz translation, Kurapika's conversation with his master, Izunami, or Izunabi, whichever you prefer. In that conversation, he actually comes off a little better than he did in the fan translations. In the fan translations, it seemed as if Izunami was suggesting that Kurapika just surround himself with strong allies, and Kurapika was saying that he was okay with pawns, and, you know, not to surround him, he'll surround himself with people he finds useful. But in the Viz translation, it is Izunami suggesting, similarly, like, surround yourself with strong allies, blah, 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 and Kurapika's kind of accusing him of saying, you're talking about surrounding myself with pawns, people I can use. But Izunami is like, well, you'll see when you get there that that's not really what I mean. And that's when Kurapika has his thoughts about, yeah, I surrounded myself with strong people, but it's not as easy as I thought, because he cares about them. So this is why he decides to do everything on his own, because when he does surround himself with strong allies, he ends up with a connection to them, and that is why he thinks of Gon, Killua, and Leorio. So this is a bit of a different perspective that we gain on Kurapika than what I discussed in the last video. Moving on, Chapter 362, all about Nen Beasts, about the parasite-type Nen Beasts, which is why I have my spirit beast Pooh here, and this evil fuck, the QB here, to discuss Nen Beasts. Nerd! So we get a lot of exposition this chapter. In the very beginning, we have Bill talking to Kurapika, explaining that a parasite-type Nen Beast is, the consciousness of it is somewhat formed from two people, and that is the human who kind of created this, and then the person that it is attached to. And based on the thoughts of the king later on in the chapter, when I say the person who created the Nen Beast, I don't mean each prince, I mean their ancient ancestor in the royal family who created the pot. So that pot is infused with that ancestor's Nen and his consciousness in a way, and that carries over to the Nen Beasts that are being attached to the princes. So it is a combination of those two things. But whenever things get a little wordy like this, I try to be a little cautious about how I interpret it, but this seems like it makes sense. So the Nen Beasts have the consciousness of the person who created the pot and the princes that they're attached to. Kind of, or maybe not the consciousness, maybe a better word to say is their will. So that gets Queen Oita thinking, well, what is Prince Woble's will? And Kurapika discusses with her, well, oh, do you think that he would want to get out of this war? And she says, yeah, there's a few of them that would want to get out of this war. So probably their Nen Beasts, the ones who don't want to be involved in this, may have more of a defensive type ability, but we'll see as time goes on. But after Kurapika and Bill have their little discussion, it's back over to the ceremony, and the fifth prince, Beppa, is talking with the fourth prince, trying to form an alliance. And he makes some assumptions about the other princes. He basically says, like, let's aim for the top three, or the first three princes. But he makes some analysis about the other princes that I think is interesting. He says that the 6th, 7th, and 8th princes have no desire to fight. But later we see that the 7th prince, Luzuris, he actually is aiming for Beppa himself. So he has decided to keep one person, one guard with him at all times, since he can't see the Nen Beasts. But we'll get to that later, but this is already a mistake in Beppa's analysis. I do believe that Saleh, he straight up says he doesn't care about the war later on in the chapter. Tyson, the 6th prince, is a little bit hard to read. Doesn't seem extremely motivated to be in this war, but also isn't very withdrawn from it. Seems to be interested, I forget if Tyson is a boy or a girl, but seems to be interested in their Nen Beasts, what they look like, and says, I hope they're spreading love. So maybe Beppa's analysis of that of the 6th prince is correct. But as far as Lusudis, no, incorrect. Lusudis is aiming for Tubeppa. And then he says from Cacho down, they don't have the means, they don't have the connections to even participate, and basically to not worry about them. But if you remember from a few chapters ago, Cacho, who is being protected by Melody, she's a very twisted child, and her sister kind of is on the receiving end of that. She puts up a front during the ceremony, acting, very royal-like, but then when they finally get away from all of that, and she doesn't have to impress anyone, she's a bit of a brat, and seems like she would participate in the war. So also, another mistake by Tubeppa. And clearly from the last chapter, Momose, who is the 12th prince, she has some motivation, and she believes that she has the ability to become the king. She's looking down on her mom and Mariam for needing more bodyguards, and they don't have the will to be the king. So she's very confident. So Tubeppa's analysis of the other princes isn't exactly correct. And that's probably why the 4th prince agrees to be allies, but then as soon as Tubeppa walks away, he's like, if you manage to stay alive. I mean, clearly it's just that the 4th prince, I'm not sure why anyone would trust him. He wants the throne to himself. I mean, I know this would be a temporary alliance, and even Tubeppa would know that, because only one of them can be king in the end, but they want to take out the top 3 first. So the 4th prince just kind of agrees to go along with it, I guess, but does not expect Tubeppa to be alive by the time their next meeting. He says next Sunday. I don't know what day it is on the boat right now. And now is where we get to start seeing all of the Nen Beasts and who they belong to. So Tubeppa has that chameleon-looking creature who's got the wheels on the side. I think he has like a chameleon head on him. But on that same page, the 4th prince's Nen Beast is like grotesque, and definitely a representation of him from several chapters ago. He had one of his assistants bring some women to his house, and he ends up slaughtering them and kind of like bathing in their blood. So his Nen Beast is like a woman/horse. She's got like the heels on her back feet, and then the front feet are hands. And this Nen Beast has some other features on her with some spikes coming out of them. These Nen Beasts are some of them pretty grotesque. I mean, obviously the king's the giant titty monster, but not all of these are cutesy animals like Momose's, giant hamster creature. And the king is watching the 4th prince and Tubeppa. He was watching their conversation. That's where you see the shadows of the Nen Beasts right before they're revealed. And he's thinking to himself about the rules of the Nen Beasts, which I thought was interesting. I mean, Togashi likes placing restrictions and rules to create a unique situation. So in Greed Island, there were specific rules about the cards. One of the best parts of Greed Island was the dodgeball game, and there were a very specific set of rules around the dodgeball game. And then you jump over to Gon's fight in Heaven's Arena, with the point system and not being able to be knocked out of the ring for too long. So instead of these one-on-one battles where kind of anything goes, Togashi likes to put a lot of rules in place. So the 2 rules that the king is thinking about is the fact that spirit beasts cannot attack each other, or Nen Beasts can't attack each other, and they also cannot attack a human that has a Nen Beast. So if a Nen Beast is attached to someone, another Nen Beast can't attack that human directly. And in this translation, the king says that he has 200,000 offerings on this boat, because since they can't attack each other directly, the Nen Beasts will have to attack other people, take control of other people, and make them do their bidding. So the king has actually thought this out pretty thoroughly. Although I'm not sure how much, if you treat every passenger like a pawn or a willing sacrifice, an offering is what the translation says. If all of them are dead by the time you get to the new continent, that would probably be better than, a large portion of them being dead and then all the other passengers wondering what the hell happened. So I'm not really sure how they're going to keep that under wraps, or at least explain to the public, to the general public, why 200,000 people went on this boat and not a lot of them made it to the new continent, or a large portion of them did not make it to the new continent. But like I said, this chapter is all about the Nen Beasts. Once we move on past the king having all these thoughts, you get to see more of the Nen Beasts. So Zhang Lei, his is like a giant wheel, a big dial. It's got some crosses on it. In my last video, there's a lot of comments about the cross on Kurapika's dolphin san, on his stealing chain Nen, and how it has a big cross. Some people mentioned that it was similar to Crollo's cross, you know, the upside down. I think it's the St. Peter's cross. And one thing that I pointed out is actually that the cross is on the dolphin's head, so really, you know, if the dolphin is pointing upwards, you can't really say that it's upside down or straight up, but look at all the other characters in this series that have crosses. So one of them is Kurt, when he was still human, you know, and then he was eaten by the Chimera ants, became Colt. But Kurt, he had a cross on his shirt. Then there's Cheadle has crosses. Phaeton has, when he uses Pain Packer, the outfit change has upside down crosses on it. Shizuku wears a cross necklace. One of the panda Chimera ant, I believe, has a cross necklace. So crosses appear a lot in this series. So Zhang Li, he's got some crosses on his Nen. The second prince, Camilla, I thought that her Nen Beast was kind of funny. It looks almost like her with the kind of the tentacles or whatever. At the top would be like her flowing hair, and then it's got that hourglass shape, and then it looks like a dress underneath. I'm not sure if this Nen Beast, if you remember from previous chapters when the first Nen Beasts appeared, but there were some Nen Beasts that look like they could come from this Nen Beast. But these ones right here might come from her Nen Beast, because we do see later that Tyson has some, we don't get to see the whole thing, but has something above her that is spitting out those little black creatures that kind of look like the unknown Pokemon. So she has something creating all of her Nen Beasts. So it's possible that that leech-looking one came from her. Just a thought that I had. But one of the more vicious-looking Nen Beasts we get to see next is Benjamin's, and it just looks like dangerous. But it also makes me think that the king was thinking in his head that the way to become king, you need things going on behind the scenes. You need strategy, you need connections, and people doing things for you. And then I look at Benjamin's Nen Beast, and it looks like just a Nen Beast that is strong. So I'm not sure what its ability is. And even when Benjamin is first introduced, you know, you see him like strangling a lion. It seems like he is willing to rule through power and fear alone, just through his sheer strength. So if he's ruling a country, just ruling through his army in a way. So while his Nen Beast looks very dangerous, I don't feel like it matches yet. We don't know its power yet, so I may be getting ahead of myself, but I don't feel like it matches the thoughts that the king had, and what he was saying makes a good king and makes a good ruler. I feel like that would fit more. If you're just comparing Benjamin and the fourth prince, I feel like that would fit more with the fourth prince, because he seems to always have a lot going on in his mind. So after we see a few of the Nen Beasts, we jump over to Sarkov and Theta having a conversation. These are two of the fourth prince's bodyguards. They're having a conversation about what they heard over the emergency line, and that is the Nen Beasts. They're thinking, how are we going to explain this to the fourth prince? All the princes are going to end up finding out about these Nen Beasts. And Theta is explaining to Sarkov how to approach the topic with the prince, because the prince has a lot of pride. Certain words may offend him or upset him, but I won't go through every detail of the conversation. Essentially, what they conclude from this conversation is that they're going to have to tell the fourth prince about Nen Beasts. He's going to want to learn Nen, and it's probably best that they do agree to teach him Nen, but maybe try to limit his potential by teaching him the opposite category he falls under. But one of the most interesting things to come out of this conversation is just that they both believe that the prince would use Nen for evil. They're afraid of what he would do with Nen. And what that means is that although they are bodyguards, they are not necessarily followers. They don't really believe in what the prince believes. So their dedication to him may waver later on. But I guess it's already wavering now because they know that they're gonna have to teach him Nen, and they're thinking of ways to sabotage that. So why is it that these two are protecting the fourth prince? Are they just doing it because it's just a job? I'm sure if they're strong Nen users, they could find a job better than protecting this, this psychopath. So I'm curious to see why they are with the fourth prince in the first place, if they kind of fear what he would do with power. And then they round the corner, and Sarkov tells Theta not to look, and you see the shadowy figure of the Nen Beast, and Theta is just horrified by what she's seeing. But before we get further into that scene, we get to see a few more of the princes and a few more of their Nen Beasts. First up is Lucidus, and it's kind of hard to see he's blocking it, it's behind him, but you can see the antennas and the little wings on it. It's got some sharp teeth, and I don't know about you, but I thought it kind of looked like a dick. But anyways, as I explained earlier, he is actually going after Tubepa, so he's got the advantage here because Tubepa is not going to expect it. Then you see Tyson, and this is who Izunami is protecting. She's more concerned about how her Nen Beasts look, and then she says, I hope that they're spreading love throughout the entire ship. Who knows exactly what she means by that? Tyson is a girl, right? I don't know. The 8th prince, Sale Sale, is having a little party in his room, and his Nen Beast is just kind of spitting everywhere. And Tubepa was right about him. He obviously does not care at all about the succession war. Now, I should have recognized this the first time I read the chapter, but I didn't. I thought that on the next page, I didn't know it was Halkenburg who walks in to see all these bodyguards dead. But I should have known by that big-ass nose. But yeah, so Halkenburg, I don't know if these are his bodyguards, but when after his discussion with the king, he is leaving the ceremony, and wherever he could be as he's walking to his room, or maybe this is in his room, but all of these bodyguards are dead. So the parasite Nen Beasts, they're still out there wreaking havoc, and we're only a couple hours into this boat ride. But moving on, man, these last few pages are disturbing. It makes me feel bad for Theta. I have some empathy for her because the fourth prince's Nen Beast is creepy as hell, and it is just right in her face as the fourth prince starts to ask her about Nen Beasts. And if you look at that panel where the Nen Beast's head is just stretching all the way to Theta, you can kind of see a size comparison. I didn't realize Theta is that short compared to, not just compared to Sarkov, but if you look at the prince too and his other bodyguards, just how short she is. But this whole situation just makes me feel bad for her, where at first I thought she was probably just a cold-blooded bodyguard who just followed the prince, whatever he does. But in this chapter, you get to know her a little more and get to know how she thinks. But the interesting thing is that as the fourth prince starts to question her, the head of his Nen Beast starts to open. Inside is another head, and then these feelers, this tongue comes out, and it's grotesque. Togashi is having a lot of fun drawing these Nen Beasts, and he's definitely pushing the envelope a little more and getting a little riskier on what you can put in a Shonen Jump magazine. So Theta is taken aback, and it's like she knows she can't lie to the prince, and she's scared, and she says, I was naive. But she thinks to herself, I have no choice right now, no matter what her thoughts are about how evil the fourth prince is and what he would do with Nen. She just thinks, right now, with this Nen Beast in her face, I have no choice. I just have to... she's pretty much in fear for her life right now. And the chapter ends with her admitting to the fourth prince, yes, I can use Nen. Overall, it went by very quickly. A lot of pages filled up with just the Nen Beasts themselves, with each prince, which I thought was pretty cool. We got those just boom, 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 all out in the open now. And for the most part, we now know all of the prince's Nen Beasts. There's just a few there, so there's still the jellyfish-like Nen Beast. Maybe that leech Nen Beast, if it didn't come from Camilla, that could be one of the remaining princes. And then there's that long dragon-like one that kind of had a pig snout on it. So the only ones we're not sure about are the 10th, 11th, we know Momose, the 12th prince, 13 and 14. So there's only 4 princes that we're not sure what their Nen Beast is. And then there's a few Nen Beasts we don't know who they belong to. So I'm sure we'll learn that in the next few chapters. So overall, I wouldn't say it was a fantastic chapter. You know, the pacing slowed down a little bit. We learned some things about the Nen Beasts. The final 2 pages definitely gave me a creepy vibe, and I really liked that. So what do I think is going to happen next chapter? Well, I thought that in this chapter we were going to jump to a different party. I was hoping to see what was going on in the lower floors with Mizai, maybe the Phantom Troop a little bit. And some people thought we would jump over to Jing and Peristan, but we went over to the princes. We got like 1 chapter or 1 page, Kurapika, and then jumping over to the princes. I think next chapter we're going to hang around the 4th prince a little bit, see what's happening with that situation with Theta. Is she going to teach him Nen? Is she even going to survive that situation? I'm sure she will. We'll probably go a little bit towards Halkenburg too, what happened with all those bodyguards, and maybe jump around to the other princes and find out what their Nen Beasts are for the remaining princes. And that's where we'll go ahead and end this one. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit the like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to see more. Follow me on Twitter at Tales_of_Nerdia if you want to discuss the chapter, or comment below. I'm usually pretty active in the comments. So thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you very soon. Bye.